10 Google Ads auditing tips. I wanted to share the auditing go-tos that I look at in accounts. Now, I've tried to keep this a little unique in the sense of um, including topics that I don't really see a lot of people online speak about when it comes to Google Ads auditing. So those are the 10 key points that I have in this list. I don't think they're that popular. At least I don't see them, talked about that much or spoken about that much. Now this is purely based on my experience after spending like $10 million in Google Ads. You, I guess, see common mistakes when you're auditing a lot of accounts, right? And these are the 10, I guess, biggest mistakes in a way that I see. Let's get into it. I am actually pretty keen. So 10 Google Ads auditing tips. All right. So the first one I want to speak about is audience networks. So audience networks, there's the Search Partners Network and there's the Google Display Network. Okay. So when I audit accounts, this is one of the first things I tend to look at. Or do search campaigns have these two networks enabled? And in this case, you can see that you can see that they were. And in terms of cost, right, they'd spent quite a bit on the Search Partners Network, and a little less on the Display Network. But the point is here, when you look at conversions, right, there are 49 conversions, and only one of these conversions came from the actual Google, like the Google network, right? Right here, right? Google search. Only one conversion came from Google search, right? So, face value, it looks like, oh wow, this campaign's doing really, really good, or the account's doing really, really good. But a lot of the conversions are coming from what we consider lower quality audience networks. So in this scenario, it looked fantastic, but this particular business said they found a lot of spam leads coming through, and this is the reason, right? So what is the Google search or what is the Google Search Partners? What is Google Search Partners? Sorry, um, it's sites like this. So I have one example, like Ask.com. This is a Google Search Partner, right? So you come into here and then you type in whatever, and then your ad would appear just like it would appear on Google. So this is Search Partners, and for whatever reason, I've never seen Google Search Partners work once in my 5 years. It's just really bad quality, and yeah, you just don't want to be on it. So exclude it. And the next one is the display network, right? So obviously everyone knows what the display network is, but your search ads can actually show on the display network like this. So it's just like a text ad that appears on the Google Display Network, right? So a display banner on a website, it can appear like this, right? So basically, I just exclude them, like just disable them. They never do any good. You want to focus on Google, like Google search. You're running a Google search campaign. You want to optimize the Google search network. So just yeah, disable these two because you want to maximize your spend there, and the highest quality of traffic comes from Google search, obviously. So that's the first tip. The second tip is location targeting. So location targeting is a big one. It really does concern me how common this is. And what I see is people basically spend like a lot of money. So in this scenario, you could see they'd spent, quite a bit of money outside of the targeted location, which was, in this scenario, Australia, right? And they'd spent, a lot in Fiji, etc. And the reason why is because 9 out of 10 times, people actually enable this particular location setting, right? So click location options, and then it opens up this expanded list, and you can actually either enable presence or interest or presence. Presence or interest is what causes ads to appear outside of your targeted region. And basically what that means is if someone's searching from, I don't know, let's just say like America, right? And maybe they want to, I don't know, maybe they want to find a hotel in Australia, right? So they'll type in like, accommodation, Sydney. And then if you have this enabled, right, well, your ad will appear. And for like hotels and, accommodation websites, that actually makes sense. You want to show in that context. But for a lot of other industries, it doesn't make sense, right? So obviously, um, depends on the industry, but 9 out of 10 times you would probably want to disable it unless it makes sense, right? So that's the second tip. Make sure your location settings are actually configured correctly. Third one is content exclusions. So content exclusions is more relevant for display or performance max, right? And content exclusions is where you don't want your ads to appear, right? So in this scenario, like I've just ticked or crossed out in red the content exclusions I typically enable, or that I typically enable, and it's pretty much every single one except for these like three. I also sometimes exclude this one, just depending on the context, right, of the industry, but typically this is kind of what my content exclusions look like. You want to exclude everything. You definitely want to exclude sensitive content, and you want to exclude the biggest one is actually content not yet labeled. That's a really, really big one, right? Because content not yet labeled could be a million different things, and it could be bad things, right? So definitely exclude this one. So that's the third tip. The next one is mobile applications. So this is again more specific to display. And if you don't exclude mobile applications from your targeting, then you're allowing Google to show ads on basically mobile applications like Candy Crush and etc. And the reason why this is bad is because a lot of the time, well, first of all, a lot of the time, a lot of kids are actually using their parents' mobiles, right, or phones, and so you're not actually getting in front of the right user. You're getting in front of their child, which obviously isn't who you want to get in front of. And a lot of people, as soon as they see a display ad appear in an app, their immediate reaction is to like close the ad, right? So they're like, you're spamming the cross button, and what happens is sometimes it actually leads to an accidental click, and that click charges you. So you've just spent money on a user that makes absolutely no sense. So it's just easy to exclude mobile applications because 9 out of 10 times it's just a very poor quality user, and you want to maximize your spend where it actually matters, and that's not mobile applications. So that's the fourth tip. The fifth tip is you want to exclude brand terms from generic search campaigns, right? So this is what that looks like. So you get your search campaigns, and you got one for brand and you got one for generic. You definitely do not want to house brand and generic terms in one category or in one campaign, all right? In this scenario, that's what it looked like, right? Like most of the cost was, of course, coming from generic terms, but the CPL was being like the CPL was deceptive, right? So the campaign CPL looked a lot better than it actually was, because it's getting like the average between these two numbers, right? But the CPL for generic terms is double to what it is with brand terms, right? So you want to exclude brand from generic, and you definitely want to segment them into separate campaigns. And the reason being is, again, brand terms will make performance look better than reality. And second of all, you can't segment spend accordingly, right? Like, maybe you want to actually isolate spend across your generic search campaigns, or you want to isolate spend and you want to spend more on a specific generic search campaign. And, well, you can't really do that if your brand terms are also housed in that particular campaign, right? It's hard to isolate and segment spend accordingly. So those are the two reasons. But yeah, just best practices. You always want to avoid this, and you also want to make sure you add your brand term as an exclusion in your generic search campaign, just to 100% make sure your generic campaign is only showing for generic traffic. Cool. Now, the sixth tip is you want to set one goal to primary. And I got a bit of a visualization here or chart to show you why. So in this scenario, right, you can see what was happening. Basically, like Google was prioritizing this particular goal. So all these goals were set to primary, way too many. And this goal was the brochure. And the brochure was a much easier goal to achieve than like a lead form, right? Or a request to quote. All right. So what happens is if you include like 10 goals as primary, Google, right, treats all of these goals as equal because you've set all of them as primary. So in Google's eyes, you're telling Google basically, I want this campaign to optimize towards all of these goals. And since they're set to primary, they've all got the same priority, right? Like I want these goals. So in Google's eyes, they're all equal. So over time, Google will start to gravitate toward the easiest goal to achieve. Or in this context, it was brochures, right? But that doesn't mean in the business's eyes, they're equal, right? In the business's eyes, the brochure was actually lower quality than the actual lead form, right? So with increased spend, you're actually going to really find it difficult to scale because Google is just going to continue to push and prioritize brochures in this scenario when you increase spend. So that's why it's just easier to only set your most valuable goal to primary, and if that's lead forms, set it to lead forms, right? And if you do have maybe 3 goals that are considered primary or considered important, maybe like lead form submissions, clicks to call, phone calls, and emails, or etc., and you set all 3 of these to primary, that's okay. Just keep this in mind when you're analyzing your data, and just make sure that maybe one goal isn't actually inflating your conversion data, and maybe like 80 or 5% of all of your conversions are coming from one goal. And then the business might be wondering, why aren't we getting lead forms? And it's because of that. So that's why you just want to set one goal to primary. It's just the easiest way around it. Cool. The next one is duplicated conversion goals. So what I also see quite commonly, unfortunately, is there will be one goal set up through 2 different tracking methods, right? So in this scenario, quote request is the exact same. So these 2 goals were the exact same, but one was set up via GA4 and the other goal was set up via just Google Ads, right? So they're the exact same goals, but both of them were set to primary. So what happens is you're double counting, right? And conversion volume is inflated, right? So obviously that's really bad for the algorithm and you don't want to do that. So just double check and make sure if you have imported a GA4 goal and you've also set one through Google Ads, just make sure only one of them is set to primary. Okay, cool. The next tip, which is number 7, is disable automatically created assets. I've never had a good experience with this. It's just me personally. So I just always disable them. It's just easier because I want to actually have control over my ad copy. Okay. So in my experience, this never leads to good things. It just doesn't. So this is something that I stay away from and I disable. The next one is separate broad and exact match types. So this is getting a little more technical, but what happens is, and I've got an example here, you've got broad match and then you've got all exact match keywords in this one ad group. When you look at cost, most of the spend is going towards broad match and most of the conversions are coming from this broad match keyword. And what happens is, obviously, due to the way broad match functions, right, and the freedom it has, Google will just the broad match will pretty much consume like 80% of the budget, because that broad match keyword has more flexibility and more freedom. So it will just get pretty much all the spend, and the exact match keywords will get very little spend. So if you have exact match and broad match keywords in one ad group, your exact match keywords will get like pretty much no spend. And you can see like here, that's what's happened. So it's just easier to segment broad match and exact match in separate campaigns. And there's a lot of strategies around why you do that and when you do that, but just top level best practices, you just want to stay away from mixing the two into one ad group. Cool. The next one is now I've got, tip 10, I've got 2 advanced tips in this one, right? So these are definitely more advanced, but I think they were good to include, right? So the first one is more so for ecom. All right, so ecom prod ID. So what is an ecom prod ID? It's pretty much like the tracking piece of code that is installed on the back end of your website that allows Google to dynamically remarket. All right, and this is really important because it allows Google Ads. So in this scenario, you can see it wasn't configured, right? So what was happening is Google wasn't allowed to dynamically remarket using product listing ads. And this is a really important component of Performance Max. Performance Max campaigns absolutely thrive through dynamic remarketing ads, product listing ads, right? It thrives with those. So if you don't have this enabled or you don't have it configured, you're actually placing PMax at a very big disadvantage. So it's just something you want to go in and have a look at, right? I think it's under Data Manager now. And you just want to make sure that this is enabled, because if it isn't, as I said, it has a really big impact on performance. If you're using Shopify and you've integrated tracking through the channel app or just through the channel app, then this is like automatically set up normally. But if you have like maybe a custom CMS or you have some other CMS or you've set up tracking a different way, definitely double check this one. It's more common than you think that it hasn't been set up correctly. Cool. The last one is now the repeat rate. So this is under conversion goals, and then you go all conversion goals in the top right, and then you can see this. And basically what repeat rate is, right, is repeat rate is the average number of conversions you receive from one person. So in this scenario, the repeat rate is 2, and we have 38 conversions. So what this actually means is that there were only 19 unique conversions, right? And obviously, as you probably can put 2 and 2 together, this can be quite problematic, right? Because conversion data is inflated, right? Now it depends on the goal, right? Like if it's purchases, then you probably don't really care because you want to get as many purchases as possible, and your repeat purchase rate might be high and makes sense, right? But for lead gen, this typically is something you don't want, right? You only want to be counting unique goals, unique form submissions. And to make sure that happens, you want to set counts from every to once. And then this makes sure that the goal only counts the unique lead form submission. So only the first lead form that someone submits, Google will count. Okay, so those are my 10 tips. I hope that was insightful. I might put I might put this in the description. I might put it in like a Google Doc if you guys want to download it or whatever. I might do that. But either way, I hope that was helpful, and I'll see you guys in the next video.